Hey, y'all. This is Dr. Carr, the Culture Docent, here to help you navigate and curate the experiences you want to have. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If it's your first time joining KMOB 1003's first signature podcast, we are very happy to have you. If you've been listening since episode 1, we're extremely happy to have you back. And, we're excited to have everyone on the spectrum in between. We are on episode 10, and we're talking about self love as a core part of your leadership. Because really, how can you be an effective leader if you're not taking care of yourself? How can you really foster, this culture of belonging and inclusion when you personally feel disconnected from your own aspirations and goals, right? In a previous episode, I kind of went in on servant leadership. Y'all know I don't really like it, but this to me is actually one of the reasons why, right? Obviously, if you are a servant leader and you practice that form of leadership, it is not all bad. But I do believe that servant leadership often promotes this self sacrificing mindset. If you are not really careful about your boundaries and if you are not intentional about supporting yourself as much as you support your people, right? If you're not loving on yourself, you're not taking care of yourself, if you're just allowing the things for your people to kind of dictate how you move and how you move forward, then yes, it is going to be that, kind of self-sacrificing mindset. But there is a way to kind of get out of that. Uh, what do I mean by self-love when I say that? You can take a moment, just think about what comes to your mind when you personally think of self-love. For me, it is going to be getting my hair done. It's going to be, manicure, pedicure. It's definitely going to be massages, facials. Everybody knows that I'm the nap queen, taking naps, going to brunch, yoga, taking a walk, going on vacation, right? It's also spending time with loved ones. Self love for me is, of course, loving on me, but also being around people that love me and want to love on me and fill me with hopes and dreams and all that. That is really self love to me, right? And you may have very similar things may come to mind. Actually, the Brain and Behavior Foundation describes self love as a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from actions that support our physical, psychological, and spiritual growth. Self love means having a high regard for your own well being and happiness, taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well being to please others, and not settling for less than you deserve. Okay. There's a whole foundation that is describing self love for you. And I really hope that our definitions start to align with that because we need to really just be mindful of loving ourselves, especially when we live in a society that moves at such a frantic pace in all areas, right? Like we're really in that rat race and it there's always this sense of urgency around everything. We got to be the first to do this. We got to be the last one out. We got to be with our competitors. If you own a business or you work for a business, like who's getting the product out the fastest, even if it's not quality, everything is just go, go, go all the time, no matter where you are within, this collective society, particularly in America, right? Like that is just kind of the pace that we operate in. And that could be really hard on the body and it could be really hard to take time for self. If you really think about it, self love becomes this like radical act, right? And I love that because I want y'all to get radical. Right. I want y'all to be radical. I want you to take the time. We are always thinking about how can we take time for self? How can we got to carve out PTO. We got to carve out time for this vacation, right? Really loving on yourself, even in these small kind of ways, is going to be very much this, radical act. And we're going to get radical. I'm going to provide you with three things and that you can do to start taking care of yourself and loving on yourself so that you can truly be the leader that you wish to be. Number 1, professional development. I know that sounds very generic. I know that's kind of like a duh. Like, of course, I'm going to, develop myself as, a professional, right? But really, I want you to work and develop and grow yourself in ways that align with your interests, right? You have ways that you're going to take care of yourself kind of outside of that professional space. These tips are going to be more in that professional respect, right? Like because there's always going to be that connection between how you operate personally and professionally. But you really be knowing that, right? Like that's why we have to do some things that are called self-love in the name of our professional capacity. And professional development is absolutely one of those things. Don't just go to the annual conference or seminar that, you could probably lead in your sleep. You go to it every year. It's not really different. You should probably be leading the seminar as opposed to being an attendee, right? Like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about going to something, going to a conference, going to a workshop, virtually, in person, what have you, that aligns with your interests, that doesn't necessarily align with what you do if that's not something that you are like, I'm super passionate about. Sometimes a job is a job, right? Like, not everybody loves going into work. Not everyone has been blessed to be able to find that thing where they're aligning their position, the work that they do every day with their passions. We've talked about how we can get there, but a lot of us just aren't there yet, right? And that's fine. This is really a really great opportunity to, again, develop yourself as a professional by going and seeking out things that don't necessarily align to your day to day work. So if you've been really, really interested in cybersecurity, I mean, y'all know how I feel about AI, but if you're like, I really want to learn more about this, it's everywhere, but I want to attend something because I want to be an AI expert one day, right? Like, get another degree. Black women love going back to school and get another degree, right? And sometimes it's you can't pay for that thing, and that's okay. There are free resources, there are free courses. Hit up your community college, right? Like what's available to you locally, but actively try to find something that is not just the run of the mill conference that's approved by your employer. Find something that aligns with, like, what am I interested in? What do I think is going to help me develop? Right? It's absolutely going to upskill you, even if you do not have this kind of direct one-to-one correlation with the things that you do now and that seminar, that webinar, right? But it really is loving on yourself by expanding your mind, refreshing your senses. I really highly encourage y'all to just do, that a little bit of professional development, get serious about it and incorporate it into your practice. All right. Number 2, hire a coach. Hire a coach. And no, chat does not count as a career coach or a life coach. It is not. I'm telling you now. Don't try to rely on chat to give you all this career advice, life advice, whatever. That's not your coach. And yes, I am a coach, but I'm not telling you to hire a coach because I am a coach, right? Like, I'm not trying to game y'all. I'm not trying to say like, oh, you need to hire me, right? I mean, you can hire me. You absolutely can. And you can look me up, and if my services align with you, absolutely. But it doesn't have to be me. There is just an incredible value in having a coach provide guidance and serve as a thought partner. That is super corporate speak, but like I mean it here because it's real, right? You need sponsors and you need mentors, but these are different from a coach. This real quick kind of lesson, like, sponsors are going to be those people that put you in the room. They're going to put, again, I've talked about this a little bit before, but they're the ones who are going to be put in, some of that social capital, their political capital on the line to make sure that you are getting opportunities, right? And mentors may be able to be your sponsor as well. They may do some of that, but really their role is to be able to help you figure out ways to kind of grow your expertise deeper and connect you with networks in kind of your existing space. Now, I am a huge believer in having more than one mentor, and we can talk about that in another episode if you are very interested in kind of my mentorship philosophy. But really, your mentor is often has done the things that you're trying to do, is currently in your field or your industry, just very much in alignment with where you're trying to go. You see them and you're like, hey, I would love for you to mentor me, help grow me. You see this potential in me, right? But your coach is going to be a little bit different especially in a professional sense, like a career coach. Be offering very much a guidance, but it's going to be on you to do the work, right? Like, it's always going to be on you to do the work. As a coach, I'm not expending any capital. I don't have to know anything about where you work. I don't have to have ever worked there. I help people across all sorts of industries, and that is on purpose, right? That I have an experience and a skill set in a certain area that I am able to help build you up and allow you to do the work. There's always homework. There's always something for you to do. I'm asking you questions. I'm helping you probe. I'm helping you think differently. I'm helping you get over some fears that you may have when it comes to, trying to get to that next level. You're trying to make a career transition, right? Like that's what we do as a career coach. Again, there's going to be some of those similarities around and crossover around the sponsors and mentors and coaches. So you may end up having all three. If you're really fortunate, maybe all three of them are in, one direct in one person or one to two individuals. Either way, self love is going to be hiring yourself a coach. And now, I completely recognize the truly, y'all know I keep it real, dire straits that we are in collectively, right? Like the world is not a super great place right now. There's a lot of things going on, shutdowns because we are still in another week of shutdown and a bunch of layoffs that happen, right? Like 30,000 people being laid off at once is bananas. When we're in this kind of space, absolutely understand that, the folks that probably need the most coaching right now and need the most support in that capacity can't afford it because coaching is an investment, meaning coaching costs money. It can be really sometimes cost prohibitive, right? Depending on your kind of your situation. And I say that to say because I want y'all to have that in mind. And again, don't run off to chat because you're like, well, I can't afford a coach. I'm going to use kind of this to kind of support me in the meantime because you're not going to really get the full experience. But either way, if you can't afford a coach right now, if you're not interested in having a coach right at this moment, just keep it in consideration. Recognize that it's only going to a coach is there to support you and it's really going to be an investment in yourself, and recognize that you don't have to wait till you're an executive. You don't have to wait till you are leading an organization or a business owner or anything like that in order to get a coach. You can get a coach at any stage in your journey, in your life, in your career. There are life coaches, right? Some life coaches go do that crossover because, again, there is that crossover between your personal and professional. If you're struggling in your personal life, you're probably not going to thrive in the way that you'd like to in your professional lives. Having a life coach is also something that you can consider, right? As you're thinking about how you can love on yourself just a little bit more. All right, last one. Number 3, find yourself a hobby. You need to get a hobby. Once again, and I say this a lot, and I want to just remind you if no one has told you this today, you are more than what you do even if you love what you do, right? I think it's really easy, particularly in the types of societies a lot of us are in with this kind of capitalist framework that we are labeled by what we do. We're identified but by our job, what position we hold, what title we have. Until we move into like that sci-fi Twilight Zone period where we are wearing our, role, our position on our shirts, and that's the only thing that we are known for. Until we get there, we are in 2025. We're not there yet, but until we get there, you are more than what you do. You have a personality, you're an individual, you have interests, you have things going on. And I want you to own that, right? Find you a hobby, find something or a lot of some things that really bring you joy that aren't really tied to the workplace. It does not have to be tied to things that you do for you to excel in your professional capacity. Finding a hobby just makes you more well-rounded because you're investing and spending time in things that interest you and that again that spark that joy, right? Don't feel compelled to stick with one hobby or feel like you're a failure because you tried a bunch of different hobbies and you couldn't stick with one. Being a serial hobbyist is a hobby in itself. We heard from Globy back when we were talking about legacy and passion and how we can kind of marry those two. She told y'all, make sure that you're just saying yes to everything, right? Trying out different things. Use that practice here. You may start doing candles and don't monetize it. You don't have to monetize if you don't want to, right? You may start creating candles or body scrubs or whatever because you like having beautiful candles around that smell great, right? Or you have an allergy. You usually cook for yourself and you found out like, hey, I really enjoy that. And I've been trying to try out new recipes. It's a hobby. Do that. Figure out like, oh, well, I didn't really love it. I started stamp collecting or card collecting or coin collecting. I didn't find it interesting. I dropped that and I moved to something else. Either way, I want you to find yourself a hobby because it allows you to explore all facets of your individuality. And honestly, it could connect you to other folks as well. And finding community is never a bad thing. Get out there, talk to people, get yourself a hobby. And honestly, people with hobbies are just genuinely more interesting. They're just more fascinating people, right? We want to be fascinating folks. We want to be able to connect with folks in our professional and personal lives, right? hobbies will allow you to do that. Get yourself a hobby. All right. I actually have a bonus one for y'all because I think this is very important and probably because I'm a nerd and I like to read. But read for leisure. Read for leisure. The best storytellers, the best innovators, the best communicators, the best problem solvers, all of them read. I promise you, all of them read. And a pro tip, read fiction. Self help books are cool. Biographies definitely have their place. I love a good bio because, especially if you're reading with someone who may have had similar trials and tribulations or something that really resonates and connects with your soul, like that can be very empowering. And empowerment is good, right? I always endeavor to empower, right? But reading fiction forces you to use your imagination. It forces you to think about the story differently and really get into the storytelling aspect, even if it's bad fiction. There's not, which, I don't feel like there is any bad fiction. You can read the gamut of of a fiction reading, but just read fiction, engage your senses, engage your mind, tap back into your imagination because that is going to just allow you to be more effective as a leader when you're thinking about problem solving, when you come across an issue and you need to find a solution. If you are trying to think of ways to get really creative about a product, innovative about how you support your people, thinking about how you're going to tap into the market for your unique value prop, right? All of those things are only supported even further by using your imagination. In a really great way, again, to be able to tap into that imagination is to read for leisure. All right, y'all. We have reached carte blanche, and I am hyped to receive another question from a listener. Question is short and sweet. How to bounce back from being fired? I'm going to, again, we've been talking about coaching and all of that. I'm going to step into my career coach bag just for a little bit for this one because, yeah, being fired sucks. It sucks. It can be hurtful. It can leave you feeling dejected. It could completely crush your self-confidence. It can ultimately be freeing if you allow kind of put a twist on that. It can be freeing just like any other separation, but you really have to, check in with yourself because it can hurt. Being fired can hurt. Last episode, actually, I talked about how you need to, when you're in that space in between, you need to reflect, you need to shift your mindset, you need to give yourself time. Apply that same process here. If you have unfortunately been fired and that is not something you expect, or you're super excited that you were fired because that happens too. And you're like, dang, I'm happy they let me out of this. I didn't have to do it myself, right? Everybody has a different situation, but check in with yourself. Do that same process. But it can be really important with firing not to get down on yourself, right? Do not let your job circumstances define who you are as an individual. Don't allow it to damage your self confidence, like irreparably damage your self confidence. You may take that hit, right? You need to take it on the chin and reflect, right? Process it. I talked so much about that last time. Really process it. But then while you're processing, I really, really do not want you to think that, this situation is going to dictate your ability to secure a next role because it's not. And it can really feel like it is. It could feel like, wow, I was fired. They're going to ask me if I was fired on my next job application and I'm going to have to say yes. And that's a stain on me and all of these things. Do not do that. Don't do that to yourself, right? Don't internalize any of the negative feedback that you received, right? If I'm put an asterisk on that, if it truly does not resonate. This requires you to get really honest with yourself, to be really, think about dang, did I probably wasn't coming on time. I wasn't really giving all of myself. They required me to, do 10 credit card signups. I was constantly under that number. If they pointed out things like that and you really take that look and reflective, introspection around your abilities, the quality that you delivered as an employee, and you're just like, you know what, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, right? Then you need to take that feedback to heart and make some adjustments. But if they've said things of you weren't showing up, you're not a culture fit, all of that, and you're like, that really doesn't resonate, don't internalize that negative feedback because honestly, maybe they were discriminatory. That's a real thing. It happens. Maybe they were retaliatory, which in most cases is illegal, right? And maybe you have a case on your hands because you were a whistleblower and you decided hey, I wanted to report something and were let go. That does not speak to your abilities. That does not speak to your capabilities. That doesn't speak speak to your professionalism, right? That was a retaliatory action against you, and you can't internalize that. Maybe they were just some haters. That's a real thing too. Either way, you don't work there anymore, right? And you can't beat yourself up about not working there anymore. The only thing that you can do now is think about, what are some of those things that, you wish that you would have done more of and that'll benefit you in the future? And what are some things that either you want to carry into your next role or you don't want to carry into your next role because your next role is coming. Just own the fact that being fired sucks. It's okay. It's hurtful. It is. But now we're going to reflect and we're going to move on and we're going to hit our stride and we're going to move on to this next role because that does not dictate who we are as a person and our capabilities. You are not an imposter. You're not a fake. You are capable. Your next role is on the way. All right. This was really fun. I want y'all to keep the questions coming. I want you to make sure that you are taking the time to really practice some self love today and every day. Your colleagues, your employees, your families, your loved ones, they will absolutely thank you for it, for you just taking the time to love on you. All right. If you're following my suggestions, then you might be looking for a hobby and you may want to feed that creator at heart. KMOB 1003 wants you to check out BandLab, where you can record, collaborate, and do all of the music projects from start to finish with the best in class, 100% a free studio, y'all. So if you think about like, yeah, I'm trying to become a DJ, I'm about to make my own music, and I'm going to become an artist, or I just like to do this for fun. Making beats is cool, right? Singing is fun. Check out BandLab, get that 100% free studio, right? So I will absolutely see you on Tuesday for more empowering conversations that lead to empowered experiences. Bye, y'all.